What's up, y'all? Henry Higuita here with episode 4 of Across the Pitch. Now, since last episode, the Five Stripes multi-million-dollar attack keeps misfiring. It's gone 2 games without scoring a goal after its 0-0 draw with the New York Red Bulls. Now, the team's going to look to snap that streak against their kids down in Florida, the team that they eliminated in the 2024 MLS Cup playoffs, Inter Miami. And here to talk about that match is Kris Duran of the Battered Herons. Kris, what's up, man?
You had to strike me right in the heart, right, with that introduction.
I had to take my chance, man.
Yes.
Too easy.
And you took the shot.
How you doing, man?
Good, man. Everything's good. Inter Miami just won in Jamaica, so it's off to the races and off to Atlanta.
So before we get into this match, I kind of want to take a flashback, kind of down memory lane. Look at last year, what 2024 was for Inter Miami. So obviously, like in the Atlanta side, we know how it ended. That was our fault. But overall, kind of summarize what 2024 was for Miami and what was kind of your verdict on that season.
So 2024 for Miami, we walked away with the Supporter Shield. I guess it's coveted in some people's eyes, but for us, we envisioned trophies, plural, and to walk away with the trophy that shows that you're the best team in the league, but not the best champion in the league, kind of hurts, and it hurts obviously to lose in the first round. So I could tell you that from my perspective and probably the fans' perspective, it kind of was a failure.
You did get that Supporter Shield. You did get some silverware. So I guess that is a consolation. There is always that debate about whether, the Supporter Shield means a little bit more than MLS Cup.
Of course.
But I guess I kind of figure where you guys land in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, expectation was, Leagues Cup, CCC, MLS Cup. I mean, look, we have Messi on our team along with Busquets, Alba, and Suarez. So not that the red carpet should be laid out because of them, but they do help to propel us to play at a different level. And so the expectancy is there to be better. Now, Supporter Shield is a trophy that a lot of people respect, but at the same time, MLS Cup is kind of what everybody looks at. If you think about the winners of Supporter Shields in the past, you don't remember them because you remember the MLS Cup winners, right? So that's one of the key things there when it comes to our success last year. It was successful in terms of the season as a whole, but we failed at the end when it mattered.
So last year's Supporter Shield, regular season points record.
Yes.
And the year before, Leagues Cup. What are the expectations for 2025?
So the CONCACAF, the CCC is number one. We do essentially have a red carpet in the CCC, right? I don't think that we'll be seeing Liga MX team unless it's in the championship, if I remember correctly. We just beat Cavalier, and we're off to play against LAFC, who is a shell of themselves from last year. They're worse off from what they were last year. CCC to us, it should be a shoo-in. That's one. And then the Leagues Cup is something that since we won, a lot of fans really don't care too much about winning it again. MLS Cup is legitimately, it's boom or bust for us this season.
So it has to be MLS Cup. Like, even if y'all win like Supporter Shield and CCC, it's not enough unless y'all get MLS Cup.
No, we already know how it feels to be Supporter Shield winners. It wasn't that cool. I mean, look, this trophy, the Supporter Shield, the supporter groups have them. Like, the team doesn't have them. So, like, it's respected from the fans. But, I mean, look at how much the team values this trophy. It's not as valuable as having the MLS Cup to be a champion.
And there's also another big tournament that y'all are going to be participating in the summer, the Club World Cup. That is huge. Only 2 MLS teams are in it. It's y'all in Seattle.
Yes.
What are y'all's expectations going into that?
So the expectation in the Club World Cup isn't that great. We aren't expecting to get past the first, the first series of games. We can compete probably better than Seattle can because Seattle just got dealt really bad cards on their bracket. But we're not expecting too much from there. It's just about getting the name out, Inter Miami as a brand, more so than actual competition, I would imagine.
That's fair. Highly
Yeah.
prestigious tournament anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, let's jump into kind of this season. First, let's look at what y'all have been up to in the transfer market. We got all your transfers here and a lot of interesting additions to the squad. But most recently, it was actually, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken, Monday, I think it was announced y'all added midfielder Baltasar Rodriguez on loan from Racing Club. 7 goals and 4 assists in 68 appearances for Racing, and 1 goal, 1 assist with the Argentina U23s. So, what do you see his role being this season?
So out of the people coming in, I would say Baltasar Rodriguez. He's a person that's been sort of in the rumor mill for Inter Miami within the last month or so. I mean, our midfield is stacked at this point, so it's weird. It's a weird feeling because where will he fit? But at the same time, we have so many games in our future that Baltasar Rodriguez is going to get some time. He's coming from Racing, and he is favored by Mascherano. He's had some experience with him, so I can be able to see him making sort of an impact on the team. And I guess the other player that I would mention here is Fafa Picoult. Now, he ended up getting injured. I believe it was in the first game of the season, but he's sort of a seasoned player, especially with the MLS. It helps that he speaks multiple languages, especially since we have a lot of people that speak Spanish, English, and amongst other languages, Italian. He's going to fare fairly well with the team, and it seemed like he was trying to gel in the beginning, but since he got injured, it's been sort of a standstill with Fafa Picoult at this very moment.
See, Fafa is an interesting guy because in the offseason, before he signed for Miami, he was one of the guys that I wanted for Atlanta. Because when I looked at him and his, first of all, he has MLS experience. He's been at several MLS teams already.
Yeah.
But he also, when I see him, I see a highly technical player
Yes.
that can pose a lot of danger on the attack. And for Atlanta, like the wingers that they have right now, obviously, Saba and Miggy are your starters, but
Yes.
the guys behind that, they're not really ideal. I mean, Xande Silva was great in 2023, but in 2024, he really didn't do anything except,
Yeah.
score the winning goal here in Atlanta against y'all. That was his legacy in 2024. And then Edwin Mosquera, he's kind of a crapshoot. He's like he can either be really, really good, really clutch at times, like he was against Montreal, or he could just be bad.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of the time it's that second option. And so having a player like Fafa that could be that technical guy, that's kind of what I wanted for Atlanta. Do you see kind of the similar situation with him in Miami?
Yeah, definitely. He was the ideal space for him was going to be the left wing position, and he's so versatile with the way that he plays. He's very technical, very skilled with the ball, fast paced. So it was gonna pan out very well. Usually, a lot of players out in the left wing they sort of disappear because Jordi Alba is behind them. But I think Fafa would have been able to fit the mold enough that he wouldn't have sat just on the left wing the whole time. I mean, it's nice for Fafa to be back too because he used to play for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. So it's kind of like his home away from home here.
Yeah, coming back home and a huge season ahead of him. But let's look kind of at the other side of this, the
Yeah.
outgoings for the winter. The big one for me is Leo Campana. I think your name is Campapi. I
Yes.
remember
Yes.
that one.
Absolutely.
Number 2 top goal scorer in Inter Miami's history, traded to New England for a big chunk of GAM and a couple
Yes.
international slots. Why was it time to move on from him?
Well, I think Leo Campana, he was right place, wrong time every time. He was always sort of behind the shadow of major players, right? When he first started with us, he was behind uh geez, my mind, Gonzalo Higuain, right? So he was behind a great player in Higuain. Then Higuain is out. Higuain meshed well with Pozuelo. Campana didn't, right? Higuain was out. Then all of a sudden, Joseph Martinez comes to Inter Miami. He steps in front of Campana. Campana doesn't get his opportunities. Messi gets onto the team, links pretty decently with Joseph. But then again, Joseph leaves, and then we get Luis Suarez. So, like, his luck has not been really great in terms of the timing with Inter Miami. He did have a good string of games a couple seasons ago, but for the most part, I felt like it was a good move for him to go to another place. But now, I mean, at this very moment, we haven't been able to fill that backup striker position. I mean, Diego Gomez is another one too. I mean, we ended up losing Diego Gomez to a team out in the Premier League, to Brighton, and he's been playing fairly well for them recently. So that's another big loss that we've taken as a team.
Yeah, but a huge credit to the league and the team that they're able to develop
Yes.
these players that are now going on to, the Premier League, the best leagues in the world. And
Yes.
another thing I'll say about Campana, I feel like he was an annoying player to play against for Atlanta because he was always scoring against us. And I remember he would score some dang good goals. There was one, I think, in 2023 where he like kicks the ball over Miles Robinson and then just scores. And I was like I can't even be mad. That's just a good goal. Like
Yeah.
that's class.
Well, and it's crazy because Campana was a very creative player with the ball. You could tell that he really does practice, his volleys, his creativity. Um, but his left foot is solid. His right foot suspect. But Campana, I mean, look, I love Campana. My son, my son back here loves Campana. So it's something that as a old school fan of the team, I appreciated him. And it sucks to lose him because it's just not the same without him. But I think that things are going to get a little bit better.
Yeah, and it hurts a little bit that he goes to an Eastern Conference rival, but it's New England, so it doesn't really matter, right?
Well, they haven't been doing too well lately, and he actually just got injured in his last
Yeah.
game, 7 minutes into the game. So hopefully things pan out well for him because I intend on trying to see if I can go to Boston to watch him live.
Yeah, and I think the announcement was he's out for like 3 to 4 weeks or something like that.
Mhm.
That's tough for him because
Yeah.
that in New England he's going to be the guy, so he'll finally get his opportunity, and he still has Carles Hill there that he can develop a connection with. So we'll see.
Yes.
The problem is that team is a kind of a dumpster fire right now, unfortunately.
Yes, it is.
But before we kind of move on from the transfers, is there anyone else on this list that you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, if I can just go through the outs, I mean, Facundo Farias was somebody that we had expected to do big things, got injured in a preseason game last year when we did our worldwide tour. It wasn't the same. Franco Negri and CJ Dos Santos, they end up getting picked up by San Diego. Lawson Sunderland, I believe he goes to a team. I don't know if it's in the Netherlands. My heart seeps out for Emerson Rodriguez because he was one of my favorites, but he wasn't that effective. So I can understand why the team let him go. I mean, the only other out that I think is kind of questionable is probably Matias Rojas because he did show flashes of good, solid play. But I think he was just going to cost too much. So the juice wasn't worth the squeeze with Matias Rojas.
So let's talk about Miami's performance so far in 2025. A great run of form. 2 wins and a draw in MLS, plus 4 wins now in CONCACAF Champions Cup. And if we include tonight at Cavalier, what are your thoughts so far on Inter Miami's performances?
Well, it's been pretty good so far. As far as in the CCC, it's been expected, right? I mean, once we got up to Cavalier, Cavalier is a good team. They won, I believe it was the Caribbean Cup to get into this tournament, but we knew that we were going to outclass them. As far as some of the games that we've had in the regular season goes, against NYCFC, we tied against them. That was rough, but we got a red card pretty decently early in the game. Houston Dynamo, we got a red card as well in that game, but we ended up lucking out with a couple goals there. Houston isn't that great to begin with. And then against Charlotte, that was a game that we had anticipated was going to be pretty stressful because Charlotte has a great defense. And then you add Zaha and you have Ajiman, and it could stir up to be something pretty spectacular for them. But we ended up coming out with a 1-0 win. So I'm pretty happy with the way that we've been playing so far in the season.
Yeah, 3 MLS games and 3 red cards. That is a tough start. If you guys keep the streak going, I wouldn't complain. If y'all keep going on Sunday, just saying.
You never know; it might happen. Listen, Tomas Aviles is a hiccup away from getting a red card, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I've heard that one before from y'all. Let's move into your predicted 11 that you sent me earlier today.
yes.
So really quick, walk me through this predicted 11 and highlight some of the key players that we got to watch out for.
Okay, so as far as like players that we got to watch out for, I'm just going to go with the one that made the difference in last year's series against you guys, which is at the CDM role next to Busquets, a guy named Yannick Bright. In the 3-game series that we played against you guys, the first game, Yannick Bright started. In the second game, he started and got injured. After that, you guys went free on us, and that's how you beat us. In the second game, third game, he was injured and out. He was literally the difference in the entire series. Not Messi, not Busquets. It was a guy named Yannick Bright. He is someone that's going to make a key difference. I mean, I'll go through the starting 11 here. Luis Suarez up top, Tadeo Allende playing the left wing, Kremaski playing the right wing, with Telasco Segovia in the middle playing the 10, and then Busquets and Bright playing the center defensive mids. Jordi Alba left back, Falcon left center back, Aviles right center back, Ian Frey right back, and then Calendar in between the sticks. The only other player that I think is going to make a pretty big difference, and this is just aside from like the big names, Ian Frey. He stepped in very, very well into the right back role due to Chelo Wegan's injury, but that's a role that we as a fan base always feel that he's deserved. So Yannick Bright and Ian Frey are two names to me that are going to make a colossal difference in this game coming up on Sunday.
Now, I noticed you left the biggest name off of this predicted 11. You left Messi off. And
Yes.
he did come into this game against Cavalier, I think, in the second half. I don't remember exactly at what point. And he scored. Why did you leave him off of this predicted 11?
So the only reason that I left Messi off of the starting lineup here is because in this case, he flew out to Jamaica to play against Cavalier. He didn't start. He was on the bench. It was expected that he was going to play. I'm actually surprised that they brought him in so early. I believe it was in the 50s, in the minute 50s, sometime around there that he came on. And I feel like, honestly, with the way that it's been panning out, and especially with Argentina with international duty, I don't think that he is going to be playing in this game. I'd actually be surprised if he's even on the bench in this game. Now, again, this is just a predicted starting 11. He may be on the bench. I don't see him starting. But as far as on the bench, there's a possibility he could be on the bench because at this point, why not have him travel?
So you think he stays at home again, chills eating pizza? That didn't go so well for you guys the first time around, but that's all right.
It did.
But even in Messi's absence, right? Miami has been fine this season with new players like Telasco Segovia and Tadeo Allende stepping up. The big display was the blowout against Houston, the 4-1. But they've been able to kind of hold down the fort ever since. Talk to me about the impact of these players of Segovia and Allende in Messi's absence.
Well, I'll tell you right now, that guy that's at the left wing position, Tadeo Allende, is going to come and he's going to destroy you guys himself because he has had back-to-back goals in every single game this season, in the regular MLS season, right? He is a monster. Now, Telasco Segovia has stepped in fairly confident at that 10 role. Obviously substituting in for Messi's and his absence. Velasco Segovia has been very creative with the ball. He's been connecting very well with Tadeo Allende, with Luis Suarez. And listen, Luis Suarez, another player who's literally had like 6 or 7 goal contributions. If it's not scoring, he's one of the biggest assist men on this team. So just those 3 alone as the front is killer. Now, Kremaski, he's probably going to make the start at right wing only because David Ruiz just actually got injured in the Cavalier game. But even before the injury, I expected Ben Krem to go ahead and get the start. But that's another 2 set of players, Tadeo Allende and Velasco Segovia, that you got to watch out for. And that's without even mentioning the big names, Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba. I mean, it's a wrap for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the odds are against Atlanta, but they were last time, so
yes,
we'll see. Anyway, I noticed that between the sticks you have Drake Callender, and he's a guy that we really haven't seen a lot of game time under Mascherano. I understand that he was coming off of an injury early in the preseason,
yeah.
but like even then, like you've seen more of Ustadi, you've seen even more of like Rocco Rios Novo. Why are you expecting Drake Callender to start in this game, and why also, if you could kind of touch on why Mascherano seems to kind of be preferring Ustadi and Rios Novo over him?
Well, so Drake Callender, he essentially got injured during USMNT, practicing or training, and since then he just hasn't been. Basically, Rocco Rios Novo has basically been there with Ustadi to sort of hold it down. Ustadi has been more than capable for us. In reality, if it wasn't for the fact that Ustadi got a red card last game, we would obviously be saying that Ustadi is going to start. But considering that Ustadi got the red card last game, he's not going to be able to play this game. Now, the only reason I mentioned Drake Callender starting here is because he did practice earlier this week. Mascherano actually mentioned earlier in the week, or at least last week, in the middle of the last week, that the team has cleared Callender. They believe that he's ready to play, but Callender doesn't feel 100%. So he actually has his own private specialist sort of taking a look at him to make sure that he is up to par to be able to play. But then obviously with Ustadi out with the red card, we finally get to see that Callender is actually training now, which he was training with Rocco Rios Novo in some of the video that we saw. Now, the only reason I'm saying that it's Callender is because if he's training, then it looks like he's going to be ready to play, and he would be the preferred option over Rocco.
Rocco Rios Novo, obviously a player that in Atlanta we're familiar with. He was a goalkeeper here during the season where Brad Guzan was injured, and we went through like 4 different goalkeepers, and none of them really worked. But either way, the team has a new coach this season. Y'all moved on from Tata at the end of last season and brought in Javier Mascherano, legendary Argentinian captain in his day, now coaching Inter Miami and Messi, reunited with the gang. How has the team's play style changed under Mascherano compared to Tata?
Well, the one thing that we've picked up on is that he's a lot better with substitutions than Tata, for sure. Tata took a little too long to make substitutions, critical substitutions. So far, Mascherano has panned out pretty well with that. Now, the difference here, especially in terms of Messi, Tata always kept Messi sort of at the right wing role. He didn't roam as much, but this time with Mascherano, with Javier Mascherano, he's actually allowed for Messi to play like the true 10 role, like where he can roam the middle a little bit and kind of pick his spots instead of kind of being a little forced to the right. And it makes for very good play. Segovia was linking up very well with him. He was playing the left wing position at the time, but they've allowed for him to sort of float around too. So it makes for a killer combo when you have 2 people like that are very creative. And I got to give the credit to Mascherano on that one, because that's something that Tata didn't recognize was a good possibility of actually helping the team instead of keeping Messi out to the right wing. So Mascherano so far, he's been making timely substitutions. Strategically, he's kept the squad sound, and with the formation that he's been rolling out, we've been pretty solid with that.
Do you feel that anything's changed tactically, or it's more or less the same?
I feel like tactically, like for example, for Jordi Alba, for him running out from the left back position, that stayed the same. Ian Frey as a right back has helped to be able to allow us to apply more pressure from the right side. I felt like a lot of our focal point in terms of pressure was always on the left. And I mean, look, that's another thing that you have to kind of give Mascherano. He's realized that Ian Frey is a pretty powerful presence, not only on the defensive side, but on the offensive side as well.
Last season, we saw Atlanta find ways against all odds to beat Inter Miami.
Yeah.
But where could they hurt this team on Sunday?
I would say to hurt this team on Sunday, it would have to be just getting just with the counters, because the issue is that Ian Frey and Jordi Alba, they push so high, it's a gift and a curse. So they help us apply our most pressure, but then at the same time, if you guys get a turnover and capitalize on the counter, then it might be a wrap for us, because then you're putting Thomas Aviles, who is a yellow card master, in a pretty tough position. You know, Maxi Falcone at center back has been very sound. He's been playing very consistently, sound defense, very solid and strong defense. But at the same time, he can't hold it down for the entire back four. Thomas Aviles is a very good defender too, but he's made some very irresponsible plays, and he's racking up yellow cards still as we speak. So that's the way that you probably can be able to get us without really working through the middle. I think through the counters is probably where you're going to be most advantageous.
And that's something that Atlanta can exploit. They have the whole advertisement was that this attack is fast, and you have
Yes.
Latte Lat because he is fast and he can run behind back lines.
Yes, he can.
So we hopefully the attack has kind of pieced that together, and they can pull that out on Sunday. So now we're getting into kind of the final bit, and I think the most interesting thing about this game is the fact that you have two number 10s in Messi and Miguel Almiron, both of whom have been, legendary to this league, facing head to head in an amazing stadium at Mercedes-Benz. What do you think about this matchup? Are you excited to see that?
Honestly, I think that in the MLS's best interest, and I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to puppet string this in a way where they have to force Messi to play, but this would make this game the game of the week if they were to have Messi play and start, right? Almiron versus Messi. Like, that is drama. That is high stakes. That is American. Like, that's what America is, right? You pit two of the best players together and you promote that. And that's how basketball has thrived. That's how football has thrived. That's how boxing has thrived. Like, this is what America would want. And if you want to get attention on the MLS and on Atlanta and Miami, this would be the game to do it. It would be fantastic if that was the case.
We have a couple questions, kind of the fun type of questions that we did on our show where we presented some betting lines. I'm sure you're familiar with Tommy. He loves to bet.
Yes.
So we got a couple of over-unders for you. First of all, goals, over or under 3.5 in total in this game?
Over or under 3.5? Wow, that's a pretty oof. I'd say under. I'd say under.
Under. So you don't think the attacks are going to pop off that much?
I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than people think. I don't think it's going to be like a 4-2, 5-2, 5-3 blowout. I feel comfortable in saying that this game can go either way, 2-1. So that's why I feel it's got to be under.
Gotcha. And then the other one, we had it at 4.5, but I'm moving it up on you because it was so easy for some people. We're moving it to over or under 6.5 cards.
Over or under 6.5 cards. I mean, Tomas Aviles, if I think he's going to start, that's a card for sure. Yannick Bright is a card. I imagine Suarez is a card. I mean, you guys got a couple. I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over on
Over
that.
6.5?
Yeah, I'm going to go over 6.5.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Let's go.
I think I think our team alone is going to get 4.
That would make sense. I know how you feel about Tomas Aviles, and you know what? I wouldn't mind if he got 2 in this game.
If there was any betting line on any app you can make, Tomas Aviles is a shoo-in for a yellow just about 95% of the games you bet on.
And if he doesn't, you know it's because he has money on it.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so the other important thing we have is our score predictions. Now, we have y'all, the guests on this show, collectively going against us as the Scarves and Spikes staff, and y'all are actually in the lead right now, which is kind of embarrassing, but what is your score prediction for this game?
I'm going to stick with what I was just saying now. I think it's going to be 2-1. Inter Miami comes away with the win.
Who scores?
I think Tadeo Allende is going to score. He's going to keep the streak alive. And I feel like Ben Kremasky might get like a random goal out of nowhere. So he's a very tough player, and he's got no breaks on him. So I feel like he's going to capitalize on like a real shady clearance or like a real shady block by Guzan, and he's just going to knock it in like on some weirdo stuff.
Could happen. Yeah, we've seen some weird stuff going on in these games. That could totally happen.
Yes.
All right, Kris, before we get out of here, you got any final thoughts on this game?
I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a lot more boring than people anticipate. I mean, look, I'm hoping it's like I hope that this is going to be a slaughter either way, like 4 goals, one team, 3 goals the other, but I don't think it's going to be that entertaining. I think it's going to be a very boring game. I feel like it might go down to the wire, but I think it's not going to be as entertaining. But, well, I guess we'll have to see.
Damn, what a way to sell the game, bro. Where can people find you?
You guys can check out Battered Herons on Twitter, Instagram. You guys can check me out at Battered Herons. We also do an MLS show, Battered MLS Fans, and then check out our shop. It's batteredfans.com. You could be able to buy merch like this with Messi's face saying the GOAT and a crown on it, and we got a lot of other stuff on there too. So check us out.
Sweet. Atlanta United versus Inter Miami, Sunday, March 16th, 7 p.m. kickoff at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. If you're going to the game, be sure to head over to the Nest on 4 bar at the Signia Hotel. We have our live show from 5 to 6 p.m. We'll get you out in time for you to get to the stadium. Make sure to check out the website. We got news, opinions, analysis. I have an article up there about why Atlanta's attack is struggling that you should totally check out. You could also check out our shop where you can get some sweet merch. We got the hats, we got the hoodies, we got the shirts that say "What's a goat to a llama?" And if you want to know what a llama is, that's the initials for our attack, Kris. That's what it is. So
I like that. Creative.
So there you go. Also, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon if you haven't already. $1.17 a month gets you exclusive access to interview audio, to kind of bonus content, and our Discord, where we have some really, really interesting conversations. So be sure to be a part of that. And that wraps up this episode of Across the Pitch. Thank you so much, Kris.
Thank you for having me.